The Darkest Hour by Caroline Tongue Richmond. France, 1943. Chapter 1. My good Catholic mother taught me to never lie, cheat, or steal. I pray she can forgive me, then, for what I've agreed to do, for this sin will be far worse. I hurried down the cramped streets of the Marais district, leaping over the fresh rain puddles and smoothing the creases of my habit. The black skirt drags on my feet, and I hope I don't like too much of a fraud, because I certainly feel like one. It has been months since I've knelt for communion, and even longer since I was elbowed into a confessional booth. Yet here I am, rosary in hand, dressed like a four-faced Sister McDowell, who'd rap my knuckles in Latin class whenever she caught me reading Nancy Drew. But getting my knuckles bruised is small change compared to what I've been up to these last 6 months. If my mother could see me now, if she discovered what I've been training for, I'm sure she'd weep for my poor, blackened soul. But I'll tarnish my soul, if that means smashing the Nazis under my boot. I owe that much to Theo, don't I? I make a sharp right onto Rue Charlemagne, a narrow wisp of a road that crammed full of apartments with their curtains drawn. Behind me, the sun sinks below the crumbling gray rooftops, tired after another day of this 3-year war. I'm tempted to take off my veil and mop the sweat from my forehead, but you never know who's watching you these days. The old man peddling newspapers, the sweet girl playing a game of escargot. Almost anyone can turn into a Nazi collaborator for a few francs in their pocket. That's life in wartime Paris for you. Church bell clings and I quicken my stride. My target, Monsieur Travert, won't arrive at St. Paul, St. Louis for another 15 minutes, but I can't be late. Not this night. I've worked too hard to let Major Harkin down again. This is your last chance, Miss Blay, he told me an hour ago. Just before he handed me the loaded pistol. You know what to do. Stay sharp, stay low. Don't let anyone catch a whiff that you're an American, and above all else, don't get caught. There won't be anyone coming to rescue you this time. Understood? I'd given him a crisp, yes, sir. Tonight won't be like the last time, when I made that one mistake and we ended up with a Class 3 crisis on our hands. I'll prove to Major Harkin once and for all that I belong in covert operations, that I deserve this promotion. If all goes well tonight, then he and the other girls, even Sabine, will have to call me Agent. Agent Lucy Blaze, I think with a small smile. Theo would have gotten a kick out of that. The smile slips promptly off my lips. However, when I hear the hum of a truck engine rumbling down the street, I don't have to turn around to know who's behind the steering wheel. There are few people left these days who can afford to drive. Due to the gasoline shortage struggling France, it can only be Nazis. The truck winds to a stop at an intersection ahead of me, and a cluster of soldiers spill out from the doors, all dressed in their crisp, gray uniforms. At the sight of them, the whole block holds its breath. A wrinkled woman pedals her bicycle in the opposite direction, and a young mother snatches her children from their third-floor balcony. Meanwhile, I watch the soldiers spill into a nearby apartment building. They're probably searching for a Jew who escaped from the Drancy detention camp, or a resistance member who wasn't careful enough with his radio. Whatever it is, there's nothing I can do for them aside from muttering a prayer that tastes bitter in my mouth. That's a lesson you learn quickly under Hitler's iron fist. You can't save everyone who deserves saving, so you do the next best thing. You take out the ones who don't. Gathering my skirt, I move slightly toward my rendezvous with Monsieur Travert, but one last soldier hops out of the truck and strides down the sidewalk towards me. I try to retreat down a side alley, but it has been barricaded like many others across the city. My hand itches for my pistol, but Harkin told me to use it as a last resort. I'll have to rely on my wits and knife this evening, silent and deadly. That's our general plan of attack at covert ops. Never draw attention, never leave a mess. So I dip down my chin and allow my veil to fall over my shoulders, letting the soldiers see nothing except for the pale cheeks and innocent eyes of Sister Martian, the alias I've adopted for myself. Tonight, the slick-haired soldier raises a hand to stop me. Calm and collected, I remind myself. I've been trained for a moment like this.